scale of the opposition to plans to build a sports village in Basildon became clearer last night. Hundreds of people attended the third of 3 public meetings. They're angry that the council wants to sell off playing fields to raise money for the project.
Not one brick! 3 days after the first public meeting and residents are still angry.
Why can't they take a piece of greenery out of Wickford or Billericay? No, they've all got all their Tory councillors up there and their Tory voters. But no, take it out the Labour people down here.
We're not against the sporting village, we're against the way Basildon Council is selling off children's play areas to fund it.
And it's areas like this one in Kent View Road that residents say will end up sold and built on to raise £11 million to fund the development.
They originally said they'd sell land at Morecambe's Chase and land at Cranes Pond Road. This is bad enough. And said they'd supplement it with some other sales, maybe of small areas of land. My goodness, they're taking great big chunks of it.
And inside the meeting last night, some struggled to control their temper. But the council insists they have listened and not everyone is against the plans.
In a meeting of the kind we've had, to be frank, you tend to get a rather one-sided view. People who are supportive feel it a little bit intimidating, and other people are getting very excited about the sell-off. And the other thing also is there's the wider consideration. Why are we actually doing the sporting village? Well, the reason is if we don't do it, then the school swimming programme in Basildon collapses.
This last public meeting proved just too frustrating for some. It's their last chance to make their point before an extraordinary meeting next Thursday when the council will decide whether to sell the land or not. Felicity Simpler, BBC Look East.
An inquest has ruled that 2 soldiers with the Royal Anglians who died in an explosion in Afghanistan were unlawfully killed. Lance Corporal Scott Hardy from Chelmsford and Private James Grigg, who came from Stradbroke, were both caught in blast in Helmand Province in March.
The Labour Party is celebrating after a good night in the Norwich City Council by-elections. They took a seat from the Conservatives and saw their vote increase in just about every ward.
Labour hasn't had such a good night for several years. They had fought a campaign which largely focused on the forthcoming government cuts, and it paid off. They won a seat, while wards where they thought they might struggle delivered decent majorities.
We've largely seen the city through the recession, and I think people are looking for an experienced and tough team to see them through the coalition cuts to come.
For the Conservatives, it was a dismal night. Their vote down in every ward, their group leader unseated.
I suppose this is a part of being in government. We are now the people making those tough choices, and we will aim to fight back in the next few months and look forward to next May's elections.
And bad for the Liberal Democrats, who despite winning the parliamentary seat here just 4 months ago, also lost a ward last night and saw their vote fall. They blamed the low turnout, under 25% in some seats. One ballot box had just 10 papers in it. For the Greens, it was another good night in a local election. They took a seat and remain the main opposition to Labour on the City Council.
At every election since 2002, the Green Party has made gains. We're now the largest sized Green group in the entire country, which is absolutely fantastic.
Both the Conservatives and Liberal Democrats had never been particularly strong on this council, and it is possible that the low turnout skewed some of the results. But the fact of the matter is that the 2 parties which are in government are now reduced to just a handful of seats on an important council. And politics in Norwich is increasingly being dominated by Labour and the Greens. Andrew Sinclair, BBC Look East at City Hall.
And there'll be more reaction to the result in the Politics Show, which returns this Sunday at the earlier time of 11 o'clock here on BBC One.
700 jobs are going across the country at Connaught, the company which repairs social housing. The redundancies were confirmed by the administrators, KMPG, earlier today. Some of those jobs will be in this region. The details now from Kate Riley.
Well, tonight the position is unclear for hundreds of Connaught workers, both in Norwich and South Essex. Firstly, let's remind ourselves what the contractor is in charge of. Well, in the majority of cases, they look after council house properties. And here in Norwich, they're also responsible for refuse collection and parks. Earlier this week, they had to call in the administrators, and today they announced 700 jobs would go nationwide. It's still unsure at this stage where those job cuts will take place.
It's
come as a bombshell for the members. Although the financial markets knew in June that there was an issue, certainly the workforce on the ground didn't know until only a few days ago. And even now, that sort of uncertainty about what the future holds still exists.
But Kate, there was some positive news today.
Yes, there was. This news has somewhat been overshadowed by the news of the redundancies. The bulk of Connaught has actually been sold to the building firm Morgan Sindall, and they'll be in charge of the majority of the existing contracts. When I called Norwich City Council earlier on today, though, they were unable to confirm whether or not they would be affected by these cuts. And they told me that discussions for the majority of the day had taken place about the future of this work.
Kate, thank you very much.
Councillors in Suffolk have declared the end of the notorious Woolpit Whiff. For more than a decade, residents have complained about smells from a farm in the village. But today, Mid-Suffolk District Council said it had agreed a deal which would stop the farm from rendering waste products into fertiliser. Our television debate last night on the government's spending cuts continued on local radio today. All of our stations took part. At BBC Essex, a local businessman and an economist debated the issues with Dave Monk, along with Debbie Wendis, who, after she lost her job, wore a sandwich board to look for work.
We're coming to the end of the festival season.
Yeah, we were talking about music festivals, and you went to one in the year I was born, actually. Not that long ago.
I was very young. 1969, Isle of Wight, Bob Dylan, and I can tell you that the only thing I could find to eat there, to buy, was corn on the cob, raw.
And that's not because you're vegetarian, there was nothing else?
Nothing else, no. I was ravenous by the time
And you did eat it?
Yeah, I did. It's very hard work.
Give you a tummy ache, I should think. Well, the harvest at Jimmy's Festival near Ipswich will be rather different to that, I think. As well as scouting for girls and Newton Faulkner, there'll be chefs like the Hairy Bikers and Hugh Fernley-Whittingstall. Here's our entertainment reporter, Dawn Gerber.
There's loads happening. The chefs have been working like mad getting the menu ready. We've got some really good farmhouse classics.
He's a celebrity chef and one of Jamie Oliver's mates. He's known for his rare breed pigs. And now he's hosting Harvest at Jimmy's, a food and music festival here at Worsted in Suffolk.
We've got a great pate on as a starter. Wonderful slow roast pork, so it all melts away. We've got a stage for all the bands, wonderful. We've got a stage for all the chefs as well, which I think is fantastic. There's so much stuff that you can do here, so you might just want to be with the kids in the playground and catch one of the bands. We've got some brilliant little grow-your-own demonstrations. We're putting on our own little pig show, so you can see all the different breeds of pigs. So I really want to show off, you know, the best of Suffolk and also the best of East Anglia as well. I don't want to leave you.
From the indie pop group Scouting for Girls to River Cottage.
We're doing a lot of fast food, but in our way. We're doing a spicy mutton burger, some wood-roasted mackerel fillets with a salsa verde, and we're getting most of these things locally where we can. For example, the fish is coming from M&J, which is off Bury St Edmunds.
Key to this festival is getting the message out about the importance of local food.
I think Jimmy's is a great opportunity to bring sort of lots of local producers together. This weekend we're going to be serving some fantastic salads. We're going with like a herby couscous, got some mixed leaves, a bit of chickpea mix in there, and then on some fantastic barbecued lamb to top it off, which are all locally produced, all from Suffolk.
With top chefs and food lovers like the Hairy Bikers, Rachel Allen and Mark Hicks showcasing their culinary skills over 2 days, festival goers will no doubt leave with some top tips and feel inspired to get back into the kitchen. Dawn Gerber, BBC Look East, Suffolk.